Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a fun 2028 presidential election prediction, and this one is a scenario I don't think is realistic at all, but I saw it been going around online, so I want to throw my 2 cents into it. This would be if President Trump was allowed to run for a third term and former President Barack Obama says, you know what, I'm running against him. This is President Barack Obama going up against President Donald Trump in a 2028 presidential election. This is like an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. When you look at a lot of polls talking about the identity of the parties, Barack Obama is often regarded as the most popular Democrat. President Trump is often regarded as the most popular Republican in his party. So you have two candidates that their parties both absolutely love, and two candidates that the opposite parties absolutely can't stand, which means I think this would be a very close election where a lot of independents would be the ones who decide how this race would end up going. But that being said, I don't think this is a realistic scenario for 2028 at all. I don't think Trump will be able to run for a third term, nor do I think Obama will be able to, but I thought it'd be fun to do this video for how I think it would go. For starters, for President Obama and President Trump, there are some states that I'm very confident no matter what will both be won by both candidates. And if you look at the last few presidential elections, these are states that were won by over 15 points in 2024 and 2020, and you can argue even back to 2016 and even 2012. A lot of these states have not changed too much. These are going to be states like the state of Washington. I fully expect Obama to win this state by more than 15 points. I expect California to be over 15 points. Oregon's a little tricky because in 2024 it was 14.5% or so, but 2020 it was safe. 2016 it was likely. 2012 it was likely. So it's right around the range of being a safe state and a likely state, but I would put Oregon as safe Democrat as well. The state of Hawaii I would expect to be safe Democrat. The state of Colorado is sort of right on the edge between being safe and likely. It voted for Harris by 11 points. 2020, Biden won it by 13.5, and Clinton by only 5 in 2016, 5 in 2012. So I don't think it goes safe just yet, but I would put it as likely Democratic for now. The state of Illinois saw a pretty sharp swing to the right in 2024. Harris won it by 11 points or so over Trump. But in 2020, it was a safe Democratic win for Biden and a safe Democratic win for Clinton in 2016. So I think it would go back to being a safe Democratic state for Obama. It's obviously President Obama's home state as well, so I think you'd have a little bit of an added boost in the state of Illinois. Washington, D.C., no surprise, would be a safe Democratic win. Pretty much all the eastern states. Maryland would be safe. I think if you can look here, let me get 2024 back pulled up. Maryland would be safe. Delaware was just shy under 15 points in 2024, but I think it would be safe as well. Connecticut would be safe. Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, all of these states I think would go safe for President Obama. And I really don't think it'd be too much of a surprise to see these states going safe along with Maine's 1st Congressional District. Now we have some states that were likely Democratic states in 2024 that I do think will still, for Obama, go safe. One of these states is the state of New York, which voted for Kamala Harris by 12.6% in 2024. Biden won it by over 23 points. Back in 2012, Obama won it by 28. I think it's definitely moved a little bit towards the Republicans' direction, but I do still think it would be a safe Democratic state over 15 points for President Obama. The state of New Jersey is going to be a really interesting one because we saw a big shift to the right here in 2024. Harris only won it by 5.9%. Back in 2020, it was a safe Democratic win for Biden, around 16 points. Clinton only won it by 14 in 2016, and in 2012, it was a 17, almost 18-point win for Obama. So New Jersey, I think, is right on the edge between being a safe and likely Democratic state, but I would start it out as likely Democratic. And I think that's it for right now for all the safe or Democratic states that I want to talk about at this moment. Now we're going to do the same thing for the Republicans. And again, we're looking at states that have been voting safe for the Republicans in the last few presidential elections, and we expect to change don't expect to change no matter what. States like Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, all these states voted Republican safe in 2024, all of which were safe in 2020 and safe in 2016, and aside from Montana, even safe in 2012. So really not going to be too much of a conversation on these states. Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota. Nebraska, we're going to have to break it up a little bit by congressional district because that's the way it does things, but the state itself would go safe for the Republicans. You can look at the 3rd Congressional District was 53 points for Trump in 2024. That will be safe Republican. So I'm going to do the 3rd Congressional District. Going to come back to the 1st and 2nd District as well. Oklahoma would be safe. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama would be safe as well. Tennessee or Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, I think will all go safe for Trump over Obama. You can look at some states like Indiana was a 19-point win for Trump. Of course, Obama back in 2008 narrowly won the state of Indiana, but then back in 2012, Romney won it by 10.2%. Missouri, 9.4% win, but then it's gone a safe Republican state every single time since 2012. So I don't really expect that to change all that much. I think we see Indiana go safe Republican. South Carolina, I also think would be a safe Republican state after voting for 18 points for Donald Trump in 2024. I think we'd see South Carolina go safe red. Some states that are kind of on the border between being safe and likely states, Nebraska's 1st Congressional District, I think, is in that category, as well as the state of Alaska, where we saw it go for Trump by about 13 points in 2024, went 10 points for Trump in 2020, about almost 15 points in 2016. Romney won it by about 14 in 2012. So this one's right on the edge between being safe or likely, but I would still put Alaska into the likely Republican category for now. This is where things are going to start to be a little bit different because when Obama was last on the ballot, states like Iowa and Ohio were very close competitive toss-up states and even both favoring the Democrats. This time around it's going to be a little bit different, but still we have some more Republican states to go through. The state of Kansas and its 6 electoral votes. It was a safe win for Trump in 2024. 2020 was a likely Republican win. 2016 it was safe. 2012 Romney won it by a safe margin. I think we would see Kansas continue to be a safe Republican state. The state of Florida is right on the edge between being safe and solid as well. It was a 13-point win for Trump in 2024. It was a 3.4% win in 2020 and a 1.2% win in 2016. Obama actually won it by a tilt margin in 2012. So it's seen a massive shift to the right. So by trends, you could say it goes into safe Republican. For now, I'm going to start Florida off as likely Republican. The state of Texas, I think, is also a similar situation. Trump won it by about 14 points in 2024, likely Republican just by a little bit. 2020 was a 5.6% win for Trump, 9-point win for Trump in 2016. 2012, it was a 16-point win for Romney over Obama. Texas, again, trending more Republican in 2024 than recent elections, but I think it still starts out as likely Republican. This puts Trump at 195, Obama at 191. We do still have a few more likely states to go through at this time, starting with the state of Maine, where Kamala Harris won it by about 7 points. We saw in 2020 Joe Biden win it by about 9. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won it by about 3. 2012, Obama won it by 15 points on the dot, so a safe Democratic win. I think we would see Maine start out as likely Democrat in between 5 points and 15 points. But for Maine's 2nd Congressional District, even though in 2012 Obama did win it by about 8.6% over Mitt Romney, in 2016 we saw Trump win it by 10. We saw Trump win it in 2020 by 7.5. And then in 2024 we saw Trump win it by 9. I think we would see, even for Obama versus Trump, Trump continue to win the 2nd District by a likely Republican margin. The state of New Hampshire I'm going to do while I'm up here because this is a state that was very close in 2024 that I did not really see coming. It was only a lean Democratic state for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump by about a little under 3 points. Back in 2020, however, it was a likely Democratic state for Biden over Trump by 7.5%. 2016, one of the closest states in the country, under 1 point, 0.37 for Clinton over Trump. Back in 2012, though, however, Obama was at the top of the ticket. He won it over Romney by 5.6. So Obama, I think this is one state where he would do better than Harris did and maybe even better than Biden did. I would put New Hampshire in likely Democrat. I think the state of New Hampshire would definitely vote more Democratic for Obama at the top of the ticket than for Harris and maybe even for Biden. This would put New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes as likely Democrat. Obama's up to 197. Trump is at 196. Still, we have the makings of a very close and competitive election. The state of Virginia back in 2012, Obama won it by about 4 points over Mitt Romney when it was still a very competitive toss-up state. It was definitely trending more towards the Democrats at this time, but it was still definitely a toss-up. 2016, Clinton won it by 5.3. 2020, Biden by 10.1. 2024, Harris by 5.8. I think it's more likely than not that Obama would improve on Harris's 5.8% margin probably get it somewhere to 7 or 8% or so. Virginia would still remain likely Democratic, but by a larger margin than 2024. Obama's up to 210. Trump is at 196. New Mexico's 5 electoral votes. It voted for Harris over Trump by about 6 points in 2024. Voted for Biden by almost 11 in 2020. And then 2016, Clinton by 8.2. 2012, about 10 points for Obama. The trend here has been likely Democrat, and I think for Trump versus Obama, it would continue to remain a likely Democratic state. Obama has 215, Trump 196. So far, every single state Obama has won. Obama won in the 2012 election, and I think we're going to see that continue, but maybe not so much in some states because Trump also won some states in the 2024 election. At this point in the video, neither Trump nor Obama has lost a state that they won in their respective elections. And I think this is where that begins to change. The state of Iowa and its 6 electoral votes voted for Obama by about 6 points in 2012. Then in 2016, we saw Trump win it by 9.5. We saw Trump beat Biden over it by 8.2, and then we saw Trump win it by 13.2 over Harris. Obama, I think, would be able to get a lot of Democratic voters or voters back to his side, but I do think Trump versus Biden in 2020 would kind of be a good example of how I think Obama would do in the state. Trump getting about 8.2% would at least make it very competitive, or would at least make it more competitive, but I think Trump would still win Iowa by more than 5 points, making it a likely Republican state. This puts Trump up to 202 electoral votes. Ohio and its 17 electoral votes are next. We saw Trump win it in 2024 by 11 points. 2020, it went for Trump by 8. 2016, it went for Trump by 8. 2012, Obama was able to win it by 3. I think Obama's the last Democrat for a while. We're going to see Ohio go blue at the presidential level. I think Trump has made a lot of inroads in the state. The state has trended a lot to the Republican side. Even with Obama being at the top of the ticket, maybe that would make it more competitive with Obama being at the top of the Democratic ticket, but I still think at worst it would be about a 5.5 to 6 point win for Trump over Obama in Ohio. So now Trump is at 219 electoral votes, narrowly ahead of Obama at 215. Now we're getting into the states that were typically the battleground states in 2024, minus the state of New Hampshire, which I think with Obama at the top of the ticket would be a little bit more on the Democratic side. So now we're going to start with the state of Minnesota. Minnesota voted for Harris over Trump by 4 points or so in 2024. That would be lean Democrat. Biden, it was a likely Democratic win by about 7 points in 2020. 2016, we saw it go for Clinton over Trump by 1.5. 2012, Obama won it over Romney by about 7.5%. This is a state where I think Obama being at the top of the ticket would drive Democratic turnout out, so much so that I would put Minnesota kind of in the same category as New Hampshire, where it'd be likely Democratic, but it'd be closer to that 5-point Democratic line than the 15-point line. And I think both Minnesota and New Hampshire would probably be around like 7 points or so in terms of likely Democratic. This puts Obama at 225, Trump is at 219. Next, Nebraska's 2nd district, where this district is very interesting. In 2012, we saw it vote for Mitt Romney by 7 points over Obama. And then 2016, Trump defeated Hillary Clinton here by 2.2%. 2020, we saw Joe Biden flip this district to the Democratic side, winning it over Trump by 6.6%. And then in 2024, we saw it go for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump by 4.7%. This is one where I think it's definitely trended to the Democratic side in recent years, and I think with Obama at the top of the ticket, it would continue to trend to the Democratic side. Again, like Minnesota and New Hampshire, just a little bit over that 5-point threshold. I think it would go likely Democrat. That puts Obama at 226, Trump is at 219. Now the state of Nevada. Nevada is a very interesting state where back in 2012, we saw it go for President Obama by about 6.7% over Mitt Romney. Nevada has moved a lot to the Republican side in recent elections. From 2012 to 2016, it was only a 2.5-point win for Clinton over Trump. 2020, it was a 2.5-point win for Biden over Trump. And then 2024, it was a 3-point win for Trump over Harris. I think Nevada is a state that's moved a lot to the Republican direction in recent years. I think a lot of Republicans moving from California to Nevada has likely helped it move towards a Republican direction. And I think for Obama versus Trump, I think Trump would be able to win it. Not by 3 points. I think he'd probably win against Obama by about 1.5 or so. But I do think Nevada would continue the trend and vote for Donald Trump in 2028, with Obama versus Trump being the matchup. Now we have the state of Arizona and its 11 electoral votes. It voted for Donald Trump by 5.5% over Kamala Harris in 2024, after Joe Biden narrowly flipped it in 2020 by 0.3% over Donald Trump. 2016, Trump was able to beat Hillary Clinton here by 3.5%. Mitt Romney defeated Barack Obama here by 9 points back in 2012. Even though I voted likely Republican for Trump over Harris in 2024, I do think Obama makes this state a little bit more competitive than Kamala Harris was. I think Arizona would still go for Donald Trump, but I think it would also be under 5 points, making it lean Republican. So far, Trump has won every single state he's won in the 2024 presidential election. However, I do think that is about to change with the state of Georgia. Trump defeated Kamala Harris by 2.2% in the state of Georgia in a very, very close race. We saw it in 2020 go for Joe Biden over Donald Trump by just under 1% of the vote. 2016, it went for Trump by 5 points. 2012, Romney by 8. Georgia is one of the states, one of the battleground states that actually has been trending towards the Democratic side in recent years, specifically around the greater Atlanta metro area. Even in this election, it still did trend a little bit towards the Democrats in 2024. So much so that I think for Trump versus Obama, African-American turnout would likely be higher on Obama's side and likely cut into some of Trump's margins that he made up in 2024, where Trump grew with a lot of African-American voters in the statistics. I think Obama would win a lot of votes back. So much so, I think Georgia would become either a lean Democratic or tilt Democratic state, putting it more on the side of lean Democratic, just over 1% of the vote. This would be one of the first flips from 2024 to 2028. This puts Obama at 242, Romney at 236. In the state of North Carolina now, in its 16 electoral votes, this is a state where if you go back to 2008, Obama was the last Democrat to win the state of North Carolina by under 1 point, 0.33%. Mitt Romney won it back in 2012 by a 2-point win. 2016, Trump won it by 3.7. Trump won it in 2020 by 1.3. And then Trump won it in 2024 by 3.2 over Kamala Harris. I do think North Carolina is still a very close competitive swing state. The Republican DNA in the state has been pretty consistent at the presidential level. Obama, I think, makes it much more competitive for the Democrats, probably more competitive than it would be in 2028 anyway. I do think Trump holds on to North Carolina and wins the state, but I do think he holds it by under 1 point, and this is where Obama's popularity seems to shine through, making North Carolina even closer. On this one, we have the president, Donald Trump, at 252 to the former president, Obama, at 242. The election comes down to the Rust Belt. And this is where, when I mentioned at the start of the video, unstoppable force, immovable object, you have Obama and Trump, which both did an excellent job in 2008, 2012, and 2016, 2020, 2024 at appealing to Rust Belt voters. And this is where things are going to get really interesting. In Wisconsin in 2024, we saw it go for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris by 0.86%. 2020, we saw it go by about a little over 0.6% for Biden over Trump. 2016, Trump won it by 0.76%. 2012, we saw Obama win it by 7 points. So I don't think we're going to see a 7-point win for Obama over Trump in these elections in the Rust Belt. Trump has moved them more to the Republican direction, but I think we're going to see Obama win the state of Wisconsin by more than 1 point and flip it back to the Democrats, a second flip from 2024. This puts the election tied at 252 to 252. Now the state of Michigan. Michigan in 2012 was an even larger Democratic win for Obama at 9.5%. 2016, Trump was able to flip it by 0.22% over Hillary Clinton. It flipped back for Biden in 2020 at 2.8%, and then Trump flipped it back in 2024, winning it by 1.4%. And this is where I think we're going to see another really close race. Obama, I think, will be able to do well with a lot of Democratic voters, especially in the surrounding Detroit, Wayne County areas. So much so, I think he flips the state of Michigan. I don't think it's going to be as blue as Wisconsin, though. In this election, I think Wisconsin would be the most Democratic of the three Rust Belt states. Michigan going into tilt Democrat. This puts Obama at 267, Trump at 252. The presidential election will once again come down to the state of Pennsylvania and its 19 electoral votes. 2024, Donald Trump won the state by a little bit over 1.5%, 1.7 over Kamala Harris. 2020, we saw the state go for Joe Biden over Donald Trump by 1.2%. 2016, we saw the state go by 0.72% for Trump over Clinton. 2012, we saw Obama defeat Mitt Romney here by 5.5%. Pennsylvania being the closest of the three Rust Belt states back in 2012. 2016, that went to Michigan. 2020, it was actually Wisconsin that was the closest. 2024, it was the most Republican of the three. So Pennsylvania has been trending to the Republican side. It's going to come down to the wire and be very, very close. But I do think Obama would be able to complete the trifecta, win the three Rust Belt states, They continue to vote in unison, I believe, since the 80s with Reagan, I believe. So that will be a Democratic trifecta in the Rust Belt. Obama would win a very close election against Trump, getting 286 electoral votes, Trump getting 252, in what would be probably one of the closest, most divided elections in the history of the United States of America. Again, this is a hypothetical prediction. I don't think this will happen. I don't think either Obama or Trump can run for a third term. I think the Constitution says that pretty clearly. But again, this is what I think it would be like if these two did face off in a very close election. Leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this matchup. Who do you think would win between Obama versus Trump? I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about that. Also, make sure to like the video and click subscribe as I post at least 2 new videos every single day that you are not going to want to miss. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.